This episode is sponsored by FlexiGas.
Okay, welcome back to another Off the Job. We have a guest episode today. Our special guest today is Derek Barrett from Derek Barrett Design. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's the first episode of season 6.
Yeah,
guest episode. Yeah,
and today it's actually like St Patrick's Day. And that's why we got Derek on today. No, it's not. It's pure coincidence. And that's why we've got 0% Guinness here that he's...
Because I have to drive.
Yeah. But he's not very happy about it, really, because he's a real Irishman. Real Irishmen like to drink it at 6.7 degrees. in a glass that the cream sticks to the glass with. Do you know what I mean? But for our sins. Anyway, welcome, mate. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Where are we going to start then, Derek? So you are obviously from Ireland. Whereabouts in Ireland are you?
So I'm from the west, so a county called Roscommon. I was born in Galway, but there's very few hospitals, so you have to go to the next county or whatever. But so born in Roscommon and studied furniture, and then did a year in Galway in 2001, and came to England then since then. Since 2003.
What made you come to England?
So when I did the furniture course in Galway, it was a FETAC level course. So it's kind of like, if you don't know exactly what you want to do and stuff, to do a year on a kind of not an apprenticeship, but a kind of foundation level. So we touched on different aspects, but there's not many furniture colleges in Ireland. So we did a bit of research, and we found out one of the girls that had done it was in Buckinghamshire, studying in a university over there. So we organised a trip over, talked to the school, got an interview. But I was fortunate enough to get accepted for not 2002 because it was already filled. But he said you have a place for 2003 if you want to take it. So I went off to Canada for a year.
Oh, really?
Enjoy about the time of swine flu, like COVID. But everyone's like, "You're going to Canada."
Yeah, where did you go in Canada?
Toronto.
Oh, right.
So I lived in Toronto. It was ridiculous. We went over. We were meant to go for March, and there was some delays with visas and stuff. So we got over in April, the beginning of April, and it was minus 20 degrees or something. It was one of the longest lasting winters. But by the end of May, I remember playing Irish Gaelic football out there, and it was 28 degrees. So from the beginning of April, minus 20, it went up to about 20, 25, 28 degrees. It's such an unusual country for extreme weathers and that. But I loved it. It was a great experience.
Minus 20 degrees over here. God. A few condensates frozen up. The kids ain't going to school if it's what degrees is it when the kids don't go to school here? Minus
bloody 5.
Just 0. I remember talking to
any excuse.
But out there they're built different, aren't they?
So, a 17-year-old girl picked us up from the airport, and it was like the scene me coming out from Cool Running. I was like, and they had
what you smoking there, Derek?
Change on the tires, and I just couldn't understand how they can't drink, but they can drive a car in the snow at 17. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. The
beautiful country, though, isn't it?
Beautiful. Yeah. When I was out there, the amount of people that told me to head for Vancouver.
That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely, the next day. But there was someone said Toronto to Vancouver is the same as Ireland is from Toronto, or something like that on. I don't know if that's true, but the size of the land
is huge. Yeah,
it's huge. So it's interesting. But to get the train from Toronto through the Rockies and stuff would be epic.
Beautiful. Yeah, I went to Vancouver. I went to Whistler. And it is an amazing place. And so clean, isn't it? Vancouver is just like, we was driving through Vancouver and you're thinking, we
found that with Montreal as well when we went up there.
Amazingly clean. Yeah. But I've never seen anything like it.
How would before we got into trades, how would you compare, like, was you expecting to sort of move and live here? Was that in the plans?
I don't know. It's more like I've come from a different avenue into this trade by going. It's more your parents go to university, do something, and I was dyslexic, so I was always kind of better with my hands and stuff.
Was your dad into that sort of stuff?
He's a mechanic. He's a mechanic. Rip a car, Jeep, commercial more so, like Jeeps and tractors and stuff. But like, just amazed how you could take apart a whole engine and put it back together, and mechanics make the best all-round trades.
I think I've noticed that over the years. Like mechanics make good plumbers, they make good electricians. They're all rounders mechanics. If you can turn you around to a car, I think you can turn you around to anything really. Like, do you know what I mean? 'Cause you got that mindset, ain't you?
Yeah.
And I think, you've obviously come from good stock and know what you're doing, because the work you do is just like, wow.
Yeah,
Do you
there's
know
a lot of
what I mean?
thinking, understanding.
Very methodical, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. So no, I did the degree, went through, got passed it in 2006, and then went into the real world, as you would say, into like getting a job, and I worked for a bespoke kitchen company. Making... It's like the thing, a kitchen fitter of the year. You haven't made a kitchen, never mind fit. You're just screwing boxes together.
Oh, well, we've had that discussion, didn't we, with Lewis? We said to Lewis, we said, what do you, like, because people say, like, kitchen fitters, are they classed as carpenters? Do you know what I mean? And do you know what I mean?
No, it's, I was asked on another one, podcast, and it was like, are you a joiner or are you chippy? And I'm like, I'm neither. I don't class myself as either. I'm a cabinet maker.
Yeah.
I know it's more of an American kind of word, but that's what I would class myself as, like, cabinet maker.
Yeah.
If I was asked to hang that door there, I'd take probably the day messing about with the hinges and stuff, because I'd be too fussy and worrying about things, where someone like Lewis will come in and smash out 5, 6, 10 doors in the day, and that it's just what you know. So I stick to kind of what I know most.
Furniture.
Yeah. So
sounds better, doesn't
But
it?
it is, isn't it? It's like, it is, that is your niche, isn't it? So people go to you specifically because they want...
And it's educating the customers as well. Like, sometimes I've, when I set, so I'll go back to the beginning. So I did the degree, and then I went to, in 2006, into the beginning of 2007, started working for a company in Amersham, a small company. I always like working in smaller groups, makers and stuff. And Ireland was booming, of course, back then. So I decided I'll go back to Ireland, as possibly build a house or whatever, and that. And we had in Ireland, pretty much a lot of people have land. It's not as common over here. It's either the rich farmers have land, and but we decided to build a house, and I tried to set up a furniture business called West Style Designs at the time. I was only about 22, and what was happening in Ireland in 2007, coming into 2008, just before the recession fully kicked in, is the government were pumping a lot of money into tourism. So they wanted you to build hotels and stuff. So it had to be a minimum of 4-star with a swimming pool if you were going to do it. So if you put down $1 million, the government will give you $1 million. So all the builders are like, stop building the houses, let's build a hotel. And I happen to know one of the builders, and in my local town, and I just went in going, we just set up a furniture business. We're just wondering if there's anything like a reception desk or anything like that. And before we knew it, we're in a prefab, literally looking at drawings, going, right, price me these couple of rooms. And so we went from just literally 2 lads. I had a business partner at 22 years old to signing a £500,000 contract to build 44 rooms and kitchens and all sorts. And it was stressful, and we managed to get it done and get paid, but of course the recession kicked in, and everything. And the problem with hotel work, it's like commercial work. If that builder goes under, you don't go into a hotel in your local town and go, oh, is this made locally, or is it? You just think it's bought in, and it's brought in by big teams of lads, which was a shame. So it didn't generate like word of mouth kind of thing. So every job we were doing in Ireland was like a grand here, grand there, and I felt it was insulting what I could offer. So my wife graduated around the same time. She was my partner back then, but then we decided, we had my first university friend's wedding in September 2010, no, August. And I decided, met all my mates in Stevenage, and I was like, feck it, let's just come back to England. Like, it's not Australia, it's not Canada. It's not a big deal if we have to go back or whatever. So we did that from 2010, and we've been here ever since. But what I did do is I went back to employment, and I worked for a load of different companies in different workshop manager, site fitting, back to a workshop managing and stuff, and picked up a lot of tips and tricks along the way. And then 2017 had my second one was on the way, and I was like, if I don't do it now, I can do this workshop management stuff when I'm 50, 55. Like I don't need to be stuck at the desk now. While I can, let's do it. So I decided to start it up at the beginning of the tax year in 2017, April. So yeah, coming up on 8 years now in business. But back then I was using checker trade and stuff to see, because I was priding myself in my fitting skills and how quick I could fit, and a lot of other companies around seemed to know they couldn't understand how you on your own could do that in a day, and they're paying 3 lads and they're taking a week to fit something. You're like, what's going on? So I was like, well, maybe I'll offer that as my service. So I bought a 110 kit, 240 kit, and expected to maybe be fitting bespoke furniture. But I have to say, back in 2017, Checker Trade was good. It was owned by the original owners and stuff, and I felt they really grilled you. Like they interviewed me 2 months before I went out. I wasn't that I signed up. I got interviewed in February to go live in April, and they checked you for your van wasn't it was insured. Checked you had no criminal record. They had to have a minimum of 10 to 13 reviews.
Yeah,
but within that
reviews before you. I remember that.
Yeah, within that year, some of them were maybe not in that year, but I said to customers like, look, I'm going to put you down as a review if they call you. They left my house, came in about 4 o'clock, left my house at about 5:30, 5:45. 6 o'clock I got a call from a client saying, oh, I've just been phoned, checking just to say we could give you a good review. I'm like, right, they're really doing what they say they're doing.
Yeah, I
never went on it.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And then 2018, they sold out to HomeServe, and that's when it went for me. And I had 100 positive reviews. I got some good jobs from it, but like I said on the last podcast, I find Checker Trade is more designed for, don't get me wrong, plumbers, electricians, people that can come out this evening, I'll come out next week. Yeah. For furniture, especially bespoke, you're always booked up weeks to months in advance, and it's like marketplace. People want it done now, that kind of attitude. So I was just keeping it for my reviews because I had really good reviews, and when Google would show them up on Google and stuff, and then the end of 2017, I did a job in Cockfosters, and a client of mine said, you need to get yourself on Instagram. And I was like, really? I thought it was all Pinterest or whatever. I said, no, Instagram. And I set up Instagram, and it was, I put a lot of effort into that, and that's where the work started to come in from slowly. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, I don't need Checker Trade. And at that stage, the prices every month were going up and up and up. So, yeah.
Time for a quick visit to the sponsor break room with FlexiGas.
FlexiGas, stainless steel pipework for gas installs. Bit of a switch up from the norm, innit?
Flexible, comes on a coil, and you can bend it by hand. Makes routing a bit less of a pain.
It's got a special fitting that you can attach earth bonding to, so no messing about with extra clamps.
Same concept as the older CSST gear, but this one's UK certified and made to speed jobs up.
Right, that's your break room done. Back to the episode.
Had you done any social media before, like Facebook and stuff?
Yeah, Facebook, family, but nothing in business side of things.
Because when we first get on them social media accounts, we put stuff on, and it's like my first videos are absolutely shocking.
I love going back. I say to people, go back. I know I've got so many now, but you go back to the beginning and see how it started and stuff, and you can see where where things changed and how because one of the guys, we used to do a lot of white melamine, because I thought, for me, I was like, if I use white melamine, I can use offcuts for shells, and there's no grain, there's no pattern like wood grain in it, so I can actually use up a lot of my offcuts. But someone said, then your Instagram will look very bland and white. It needs colour. So that's when I started burning in the walnuts and the oaks and stuff, and then LEDs came in 2000, and started working with LED companies and stuff, because anything with lights in it, people are drawn to it.
Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? What lights can do.
Yeah, and it works really well for me. So, but like I said, when I started on Instagram, then I think it took me.
I'm going to put some tree lights on my next boiler.
But just what's the Sweb with the gas engineer? Doesn't he do this beautiful copper work, and then he sticks some LEDs in behind it, and it just looks like wow. That looks it's just copper pipes, but it just makes it look more gothic and stuff. And it's just simple little things.
I have to do my own.
You might have to
take
get
on
some
it.
of them uni lights underneath.
Yeah, I
and
might have to do my own take on it, Derek. You know what I mean?
So was there anything you was worried about? You said your second one was on the way when you went self-employed.
Yeah, so we, my wife was working as a catering in nurseries and stuff like that. So the other one was getting to like, I don't know, she was 3.5 at the time. So she was backing me and stuff. And then eventually she ended up around COVID coming in with me and helping me in the office and stuff. And now she does all the hand finishing with the Rubio and the oils and stuff. So she's doing that today. We're doing the Royal Ascot. We got the reception desk there, and it's brilliant. Just put my wife in a room and say, finish that, and then
Get the polish.
Good. But honestly, it's serious because you're saving on spraying costs, paying another company to come in and finish it and that. So we do a lot more now with Rubio and stuff like that, the oil finish, because it's a one coat finish. So once it's on, it's done. It's not like Osmo where you have to put coat on coat on coat, and it's quite hard wearing. But going back, it took me. I remember my 3-year anniversary with my company. I remember I had around now. I hit 3 years. I hit 10,000 followers. So it took me 3 years.
Yeah.
I remember 1,500, 5,000, and then I just kept at it now. But it's not like nowadays you see lads setting up accounts and they're up on 10, 20, 30,000 straight away. They're just blowing up on social media. So it's just kind of. But I want to make it work. I wanted to make it work for me. I want to get the right clientele.
Yeah.
The best jobs you can get are when the client says, I've been following you for years. I love your content. They've already nearly made up their mind. They want to work with you. And that's kind of put the hard work in more than do a quick reel. It's just more of a quick fix and it goes viral and it's not getting.
What percentage of work would you say comes from social media?
I would honestly say well over 85, 90% of my work comes from socials. And then what I'm finding this year is all the jobs I did in 2017, they're trickling through repeat. Their kids have got to an age now where they're moving to bigger schools. They want to move to a better area, so they have to move house. And I'm finding I've got about 10 people on the books this year, which are from 2017 and 18, which is fantastic.
That's good.
My
Repeat,
original,
yeah.
the woman I said about Cockfosters, I'm doing her whole house again. And I did her house back in, and she was the one that told me to get on social media. So word of mouth. But the problem with word of mouth is, unless they come through Instagram, I don't want to have to necessarily prove myself. I want that to be done. So if you don't follow me, then you don't know.
You want them to want you to do it.
I want to work with them. I want you to
want
to work with me, kind of.
That's what I mean. You're like the sort of old school person who used Instagram to generate work, not an influencer who's trying to work with companies.
This is very much so, yeah.
And you are the company you work for.
I am the brand, and
You
that's
are
the
the
thing.
brand,
I always
yeah.
say that to people. Don't constantly just keep putting pictures up of your work. You got to share yourself because you are the person behind your company. You're the brand. I go to people's house going, I get people coming to the workshop that are trades and like, oh my God, I'm in, because they know the workshop. They felt like they've already been in there because of all the videos and stuff. Where it's the same with customers and that. And the customers will know that that I'll be sharing their work in my stories and they get to feel like they're involved in it and that. And if they're already on Instagram, I'll tag them and
It's
stuff.
more personal touch, isn't it?
Exactly. You're
you know
not
what I mean?
just a rep coming round. And that's the bit that I still love is the fitting side of things. I love the customer interaction. I love dealing at the beginning stage and at the end stage. But I've kind of slightly given up control to my makers in the workshop. So what I've done is I've done a full loop. I've become a workshop manager again, but I have more control over it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
How hard? Because it's not. You obviously do high end work, and it's not that easy to get into that sort of. Like, how hard was it to get your foot in the door with the high? Was you had to start on the lower end first, or what?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly that, and it's knowing when to to say no and pull away from, like, for me, I don't want to go in the understairs storage boxes under a stairs thing. They can be made very reasonable, very at a very good price. But once you start doing something that, like fitting kitchens or that, you'll just
it's funny
end up
you mentioned
falling
that.
into this category of, oh, could you throw me up a boiler door? Can you make up a bespoke door with this Howden's Kitchens, Wren Kitchen, whatever? And then you're just
You're stuck in it.
you're downgrading yourself.
My mate, funny you say that. My mate mentioned that today. Mike mentioned it in his story. It's like if you get caught doing like the big jobs, right, and you're not necessarily, the big jobs can take like more time, and sometimes you lose money on them jobs. But if you're making money doing exactly what you're doing, like boiler fitting, blah blah blah, then make your money that way. But whatever niche you go in, you can tend to fall into that. Oh, he's just a boiler engineer. Do you know what I mean? Or he does a few bathrooms. Then all of a sudden he's just a bathroom guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
no, that's very true.
And then people look at him and go, well, we thought you just did the big jobs, so we didn't phone you up for the small jobs. So you end up losing out. So you've got to keep it.
What I found was where I learned that one was I used to have an iPad, and I remember having all my like kitchens, studies, bedrooms, whatever. So when one day there was an Apple update on the iPad, and the pictures, the albums just went splat, and they went everywhere. This would be two of the wardrobe, and then it went to a kitchen. And it was and I never got around to sorting it all out. But it actually benefited me, because what happened was I'd go around to do a wardrobe or something, and I'd give them the iPad, and they'd be flicking on, oh, you do bespoke kitchens?
Yeah.
I just presumed you just did wardrobes.
Yeah.
And it was just
It's
all
amazing how
about
people
planting their seed in their heads.
It's amazing how people's minds work, isn't it? Like where they think they can just, and that again is an influencing thing where they just see pictures and pictures and pictures, and they're influenced in thinking that you just do that.
Yeah.
Where, like you say, if it's mixed up a bit, then they go, oh.
But it's like you asking the question about a kitchen fitter to Lewis and stuff. Like, if you ask a client, who do you call to put some wardrobes in? A joiner, a chippy.
Yeah.
It's just whatever they don't really understand the different avenues you could go down. But I just say anything with a cabinet, we can do it, kind of thing. At the end of the day, what we're doing is making boxes and then making them look pretty from the outside, and that's just screwing cabinets together. But what Instagram has done is got me into a higher clientele.
Yeah, would you say that's part of it that's helped then?
Absolutely. It's like even the guys I have working for me at the moment, they've outlasted so many, but they found me because they were following me on Instagram. They liked what I did and the way I worked and whatever, and then they came looking for a job. If I go and put an ad out in Indeed or something, and I get Joe Soap from down the road that's been a chippy on a building site going, yeah, I want so much a day, and they've never used a table saw. All they've used is a hammer and a nail gun and putting up door frames and stuff. Trying to tell them they're not worth as much as they think they are, because they need to go back to basics and learn the way of doing a cabinet making roll and stuff. And it's tough going. But I've never found anyone when I've gone out to look for staff. It's just impossible.
Well, like my old man used to say, in very true words, a good job doesn't need advertising.
Yeah.
So you've been seeked out rather than you seeking them out.
Yeah,
so
the timing's worked.
They want to know, don't they?
Yeah,
they want to be part of that, and they're going to put themselves out for you more than somebody who just going, I need you to work for me, sort of thing.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
absolutely. No, it does. It does. It does have a, because you want them to know who you are. You want them to be following you and different things like that to make it work and that. But
what if you needed someone, what would you do then? Like, obviously people come to you to get to ask for a job, but say if you really needed someone, what would you do? Just sort of deal with it? Or would you not put a job out because you know you're going to get a lot of people?
Have you got people that like who come to you and you go, I haven't got a job for you, but you put them down on a list?
I try and keep we print off some CVs and just hold on to them and that. But what sometimes is better on our books is people you can call up to do evening work. I think split shifts is actually a future. That's where I think you could do really well, is have someone that's, don't get me wrong, a stay-at-home dad or something, that once the wife comes home and he comes in and does 4-6 hours on a table saw and edge bands, but he's making some money on the side or whatever. I think that's more beneficial, because the problem is we've got a really good setup, we've got a really good size of a company, floor space wise, but I'm still running the business as a one-man band. I'm still doing most of the drawings. I think what I need to do really is I need to get someone into the office side of things and help on that side. But it's one of those things I always say when people say, what would you advise someone at the early stages of a company? And it's little things like your email address. If you set up Derek Barrett Design, stop putting Derek Barrett Design when you go to a hotel, when you're signing up to this, that and the other, because then it becomes your business and your personal. And it's very hard to hand that over to a new person that comes into the office, and you've got your wife's Valentine's gift reminders coming through, and it's little things like that. But it's just little things like that, like setting up lots of bank accounts. Don't just have one business bank account. You got to have individual bank accounts to split your money up from day one, because this is the problem.
Why not talk to him earlier? I could have got some tips.
But it's true, because you get a deposit, you go, wait, you got some money, and then you go and spend it, and you're like, oh wait, I haven't started that job, I need to buy the material. So then you need a deposit account, and then you got your VAT bill, and then you got your VAT account, and then you got your corporation tax, and then you got your deposit holding account. So I think I have 5 or 6 at the moment to split all the money up, and that's worked really well to kind of control. And what we started doing 2 years ago, which was a good one, was me and the wife, we set up a 2% account. So every time the money comes into the business, we take 2% of any of that as our profit account. So we just put that into a profit, and then we know that then is either our Christmas bonus or whatever, and it's just 2%. You don't feel it, but it does build up. It's a good.
Do you know what? One thing I've noticed of the carpenter, if you don't mind calling you a carpenter, but carpenters I feel like actually got their shit together. Derek Lewis, he was very switched on with his paperwork, getting deposits, and I feel like plumbers are just
fucking made
they just made it. Carpenters.
But they plan stuff more, didn't they? You see all these drawings and all that.
Well, during COVID, like I said, when my second one was born, she had a bit of a heart condition, so she had to have an operation. So when my idea is, when I went out to customers, we do a lot of hidden doors. If there's a way of maximizing space and stuff, we give them the ideas and that. And that's the value. Anyone can make a wardrobe. Anyone can knock something up. But it's those little things. And you're like, I'm just going out willy-nilly, and I'm meeting a customer on the basis of getting this job. And I'm doing a sketch or a drawing or whatever. So during COVID, with the coronavirus going around, I didn't want to be going around willy-nilly to customers' houses on the promise of a job. So we from then we point blank said, no, we're not going out till we get a deposit from the customer. We're happy to price the job through email under the customer's photographs, videos or whatever, but the 10%, then if they're happy, it's 10% deposit. So if they're willing to spend $3,000 on a wardrobe, it's £300 deposit. If it's 10 grand, it's £1,000. If it's £100,000 job, I understand someone might not want to hand over 10k on my key, but they have to understand that 100 grand's worth of work. It's like you doing 100 grand's worth of plumbing on the floor and whatever. That's a lot of working out, calculating.
I'll never get big jobs like that.
But it takes time. And a lot of the time it was in our heads that, I have to go out and give a free quote. I have to do a free, or not free quote, I have to go out. It's just that natural thing. Free estimates, free quotes, whatever. But very few customers actually had an issue with it. I've had one or two, don't get me wrong. But on the grand scheme of things, very few were like, yeah, that's fair enough, 10%. And then you know that they're serious. And then you'll give them the best of what you can offer, or you know their budget. And then I used to always say as well is when you go out to do a wardrobe or whatever, talk about, because you've already got the deposit, you know you sold the wardrobe, you talk about everything but the wardrobe then. So start talking about, oh, I just did an understairs storage. Oh, I've just done a lovely media unit.
Yeah.
Did you see that one on Instagram? And they had no intention of even contemplating an understairs or a media unit because you've already sold. There's no point talking about the wardrobe because you've sold that. I'll do the drawing.
Yeah.
Here you go. Check my Instagram. See that one I just did? Oh, do you think that would work there? I'm like, yeah. Oh, would you mind doing me a price for that? Before you know it, you're planting the seed and just getting them more
Sales
work.
tactics.
It's like, do you have like a set sales process? Like if you're going to a job quoting it, do you have like would you have like a brochure you just show them Instagram or
Instagram.
what's your sales process?
I used to, like I said, back in the day, I used to run the iPad till the kids took it and turned it into all sorts of YouTube crap. Something surfer or something. And so I don't even run the iPad anymore, but just literally the phone and stuff. And one thing I do wish Instagram would do as an update or something in the future is with the new, whatever it's called, the new AI and stuff like that, is if you go on the thing, you can say, right, do me a design for something. If you could do that and say, look, pull up all my wardrobes on my Instagram account, and then the file just comes, it knows what the wardrobe looks like, and then you could show the customers. I think that would be a really cool update, because a lot of the time you're like, I did a job back in 2000 and I've got 1,400 pictures. And you're like this, and I just feel like something like that would be very good as an update. And another one I want to say, if any of them are listening, is Google Maps and Apple Maps. Could they not have a setting function that allows you to tell if you drive a Luton van or a camper van?
Yeah.
Because the amount of times I drive into London and you got a 6'6" thing where I'm just following the sat nav, but I've got a Luton van which is 2.7 width of mirrors. It's just like, it must be something. I've tried a couple of other apps that lorry drivers use and stuff, but they never seem to be as good or work. But that shouldn't be that hard for Google Maps to have a setting to go, what's your vehicle size? And then it can plan your route based on that.
It'd be handy if they just told the vans don't go in the Rob Rive tunnel, wouldn't it?
Or go through Hyde Park. I think when I came back the other day, I think I drove through near the zoo or something, and no commercial vehicles are allowed to drive that way. And I'm like, a little thing like that.
So you're going to get a fine, isn't you? That's the thing, but that's generating money for them in another way now.
No, Tesco's did well out of that day because they camered people going in, and then they didn't camera them going out to the rally, but they camered them not coming back, but leaving on the second time when we went back to meet up. So I got, oh, this is you coming in at 9:15, but you left at 3:45. I'm like, well, I didn't. I came back.
Yeah.
And a load of us got charges through the post. And luckily, I found some pictures at the square with the number plate.
Mia. Yeah.
Go look at the BBC News. That's what I had.
So do you have your own workshop? You build the furniture. What's the sort of the process? And you design the job. So you build it. You obviously a lead time for the customer.
Customer would email, and maybe out of the blue, my wife then would take over that email, and if there's not information on it, she'll say, look, we're running at a 5, 4, 6 month lead time. If you're happy with that, then please send us over photograph sizes of the space, any inspo photos, either mine or someone else's, and any extras like LEDs or whatever. Just give us a list of that. Then if that comes back, she knows that they're happy to wait, they've got all the information, and then I'll take over the email from that point, and I'll put a price on it, and I'll email them back. If they're happy with the price, 10% deposit, and then we'll book in a diary. And I always say, I'll book in a slot that works for both of us. Not for you, works for both of us. I've had some interesting customers where they're like, oh, can you come round at like 9 o'clock at night? My kids are going down. Or the best one was, oh yeah, I'm happy for you to fit that day, but between the hours of 11 and 12 and 3 and 4. Sorry.
Was that? Who was that? What was the
Walk
sound?
Live, Dire Straits.
I thought so.
It's been my Nokia ringtone from like the 2000s. But yeah, so the kid has to nap in the house and we can't make any noise. I've had that twice in the last 12 months. I couldn't believe it. Like, I said to my wife, can you imagine telling a tradie that to not make any noise because your kid has to go down to the bedroom and that?
No, I've had similar things. It's like trying to get into properties. after the school run. Do you know what I mean? Because they're out doing the school run, or they're not in there in the day. The other day I had one at 3:30. Couldn't come till after 3:30. Neighbours let me in from downstairs. She's picked the kid up. I'm just about to take the front cover off the boiler, and a kid walks in to the flat, like 7, 8 years
and
old,
doesn't have a clue who you are.
and I'm like, "Who are you?" She went, "Oh, my mum's at work." I went, "Well, who's looking after you?" She went, "The neighbour." I went, "Where's the neighbour?" She went, "Downstairs." I went, "She's not looking after you then, is she?" I went, "You've got to go back downstairs to the neighbour, because you can't be in here, like, while I'm here,"
Working,
sort of thing. And I'm thinking, geez. And the amount of times it's like trying to get to the flat for 3:30 or just work in their times, and you think, oh,
I've got one coming up in Monday week. We're fitting a really nice understairs with remote control glass and stuff, and but it's right beside it. It's like it's on the main road with a train station across the way and schools, and there's nowhere to really park outside their house, so we'll have to double park. And I've said to them, like, can I just get there for 7 and just throw everything in as quick as possible before it starts to get busy, and then we'll drive the van up the road and park it. But I just know it's going to be an
You've got no driveway or anything?
No.
No,
and there's very few houses that we do that are like this, but because of the location it's in, it's a very valuable house. But it's just like if there's a skip there, there's no one. But my Luton van, I used to have a Transit, and I decided to buy a Luton just to make, because we're doing a lot more walk-in wardrobes, and if the more stuff we can leave built, the better. It just makes our lives a lot easier to get them in and stuff. But the sidekick just keeps growing and growing, and if you start selecting, I won't need that. Where's the grinder?
Yeah.
Why would you need a grinder? You're fitting wardrobes. Like,
Yeah.
I need a grinder. And so we have the set side kit, but that's what takes the time, and that's getting it in and out and stuff like that.
What about let's talk about payers. Have you had any dodgy payers? Is everyone fairly good with you when you put in the final
I would say
invoice?
95% pretty good, but I had a funny one a while back where I was waiting about 7 days. I actually showed my wife your reel this morning about I'll hold on to the money for 5 days. My shoes, can we use that? But they said 5 days later, I said, you haven't made your payment. It says, oh, sorry, we've been so busy, we haven't had time to use the wardrobes yet. I was like, really? Right, okay, I'm going to try that at Tesco's. And I buy the shop, and I'm going to go home, I'm going to eat this food. If I'm happy with it, I'll come back and I'll pay you. See how far I get in Tesco's doing that.
Oh, yeah, I haven't opened a bottle of lemonade yet.
It's like, I'm not paying you. I haven't tasted
just
the food.
open the door and close it again.
It's like, honestly.
But does your wife do the invoicing, or do you do the invoicing, or chase the money?
She does a bit, yeah, she does have. We're still very old school on that side of things, and it was something I talked about things like these apps and stuff. There's different options in that, but it's just taking that leap, and like, because we're on Zero, we got the accountants and that, but we're still old school with the save the PDF on Word and just send it and stuff, where I think even Zero has functions on it, but if you don't know, you don't know. And we've tried Tradify, and you get the free trial, but when you're talking to someone on a phone, it's hard. You need someone to nearly show you. So we're actually going to the...
You know what you need to do, didn't you? As chippies and all that, you start needing to print certificates, and then he can do a carpenter certificate app, can't he?
Carpenter pointer. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying he's going...
I'm going to go to the tool fair in El Pally.
We're going to be there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to bring the whole team. Have a day out, and I'll bring my wife as well. And just, I said, look, if we see anything, then we can talk to these different kind of companies and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I like. There's not many shows this year from my line of. There's no KBBs, and there's no materials and finishing shows and stuff like there was last year. It's every 2 years, I think. So the only one really I have on the cards is the installer show this year to go to, but that's more of a social event, more so than the...
Yeah, it's like a lot of trades are going to that, aren't they? Installer show.
Yeah, they love it, don't they? That's because plumbers rule. Do you know what I mean? Well, Is that
You're
is that a
funny
show,
fuckers.
innit? You know what I mean? Is that a show, innit? Jump on board, you're welcome.
I have to drink.
Yeah.
They're having it in the NEC this year, aren't
Yeah.
they? The actual social.
Yeah, the socials in the NEC this year, which
How is that? Is it in like in the actual
I think there's like an area.
area?
Yeah. I don't know how it's going to work. I did speak to Pointy the other day about it, asking how, and he did run through it with
Only
me.
3 months away.
I know, that's what I said to him. I said, we need to get on this because it's not only round the corner, innit?
We
Yeah.
need to make it good. Last time was good, but we just got to plan it. We didn't really plan a lot.
No, we need to do a bit more planning this year because it's like, you know, a bit more professional, isn't it? It's the NEC, innit? We're at the NEC this year.
Yeah.
It'd be good. It'd be a good crack.
Yeah.
Good crack.
I got a call last week from someone's in charge of the kitchen side of things, but they want me to do a talk at it. So I managed to get that sorted for the first day.
Nice.
But then I've booked something for the Tuesday or the Wednesday night because that's the I think that's when the party's on. So
Is there not many carpentry shows then?
not this
really?
year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple in Germany, but I've done Vegas. I went to Las Vegas
There you
with the
go.
wife. Business expense, 10-year wedding anniversary. Yeah, I went to a tool furniture show over there. Business class, yeah. But it was perfect timing, and it was I really enjoyed it. But I always get worried. I always get scared with Germany, like going over. But it's completely English. They're way better set up. Like the NEC, you get off the airport and you can go straight out to the hall. I see Robin Clevitt doing it all the time, and he'll fly over or whatever, get trail over and that. But it's just that whole doing it for the first time. You're like worried, going, I won't have a clue where I'm going. I won't know, because they're meant to be 4 or 5 times bigger than the NEC. When they
massive.
do shows. But there was what I was debating on, but I don't think I'll do it this year, but maybe next year. But I think all the other ones are kicking off again next year. Hopefully the materials and finishing show gets a bit bigger. It was the first year back after COVID because they used to be called the W show, which is more like woodworking machinery and stuff.
Right.
But it was always more the big machines, like the 250,000, 400,000 pound machines. But what I used to say to a lot of these in talks and stuff, and go, it's about planting a seed. We're only a one-man band, but I now own a home mag, which is a lot of money. I have a really decent table saw, but I may have never envisioned that when I set up.
Yeah.
But it's not about the quick sale. It's about just putting it out there that we're here when you get to a stage and you want to buy a certain machine. And that's what these trade shows are all about. And that's why I like going to them.
But again, he's a good social and all, innit?
Absolutely.
You must have done some impressive jobs then. What would you say you're the ones you're most proud of? Like, what's your best one?
One that stands out, yeah.
Well, one of my, it's more of my favourite one was in Barrett, which was just a hallway unit, a black hallway unit, and I did the door in there. And it's not something that was massive money or anything like that, but it's just something that it used to be my profile picture for in the early days. But no, what we did 2 years ago in Utoxer, we did 17 projects in one house, all up to Christmas, and it was chaos, but I loved it, every bit of it, and some of my nicest work went into that house.
Maybe you send us some of the pictures and then we'll put it in an insert. Can we do that, Kieran?
I did his garage in the summer last year. There was 20 car garage, Ferraris and kit cars. It was crazy. I did his whole toolkit on the back wall.
Oh, really?
It looked epic, yeah. I had to be very selective with what I shared, but it was hard because the glass reflected all the cars in the background.
Oh.
But I couldn't do like some epic videos because of the value of the collection. But again, that wouldn't have come to me only for Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to travel, like you said. You're going over to Essex kind of thing. I work all over the country. We do. If the customer is happy to pay and the job's right, I'll travel anywhere in the UK.
Again, that's the same as Lewis, isn't it? He does the same.
But he was doing a job. He was in my work. He was doing a job in Maidenhead, which is literally beside High Wycombe. And you're like, well, you're a rugby. What are you doing down here? But the poor lad, like, he makes the stuff, like a lot of it on site.
Yeah.
So it's not for me to do a job further afield. I'm only installing it because all the hard work goes under the roof.
Yeah.
I can build it all. The only thing I need to be worried about is the the scribing around the walls and stuff. Everything else is just giant Lego.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's not
tough.
an easy thing to have a workshop. Like, if anyone's looking to like go down that route, have a workshop. What would you sort of say to get started? Like
Size wise or
just
machinery?
in general, yeah.
It's hard. I've seen people start up businesses in the garages and stuff like that, but I think a minimum 15 to 2,500 square foot. I think 1,500 would get enough spaced. Because the thing is, I remember getting them on my first unit and I was like, oh, this is huge. And then by the time you planned out where you're putting all the machines, there was actually nowhere to build any furniture.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I actually need space to put the boxes, or I'm just back to square one where I'm not actually putting it. But that's one of the comments I get on Instagram. People go, you build it, then you take it apart, and then you put it back together. And I'm like, well, that's how we've always done it in the companies I've worked for. And it works. Because down to the simple thing of putting every shelf into that wardrobe. Because if you don't, and you turn up the site, and that shelf is cut 10 mil too short, I'm driving all the way to Utah, sir, for one shelf.
You need to know
and
that it fits.
Yeah. So if you put it in, you know it's...
What if it don't?
Well, that's it. You have to go you remake it in the workshop if that happens. But if you literally find out on site, but that's the hard bit now, is because I got staff. I'm putting a lot of trust in them to load the van up, and where I've been doing all that for so long, and I'm like simple things like Dusty Boys, the mats.
Yeah, you got.
One day I turned up, there's no Dusty Boys, but they're on a rack to the side, and I'm like.
But transportation of it as well, you've got to be careful of it as well.
Yeah, the loading and stuff, and and that's why we got the Luton van to try and keep the units together. But then also Lutons are great in one aspect, but not great in another aspect, because then you have weight limit. They don't actually hold much weight, a Luton van. You're actually better off with a transit van, where I think
because of topple.
No, it's more just like 3.5 ton is always based on the actual wagon itself. So it's a bigger wagon, so it actually can. That's the other thing. That's why you sometimes see Luton vans without tail lifts, because there's about 350 kgs on a tail lift, which is eaten into your loading weight. So that's why you see a lot of people. I think I'd know what to do now if I bought a Luton again. It's like my dad always, why didn't you tell me this before? I wouldn't have bought that. You should have bought a twin wheel, and you should have bought this. Like, always tell me after. But yeah, maybe double wheel, or there's the low level ones that you kind of walk into, a bit like the Arcado and Waitrose, the vans and stuff like that. Where, but yeah, little things like that. Just do a bit more research and stuff. But I'm still happy we have it for sure.
What would you say the setup cost could be like to start building your own furniture?
It's down to like, you can get caught up sometimes in the big names and stuff like that. It's like people talking about, oh, look at this table saw and stuff. But one thing I always say is, it's not the table saw that's doing the cutting, it's the blade. So if you spend your money on the actual blades, it's just a spinning motor at the end of the day. So as long as they've got warranty, there's no reason that a Jap saw can't actually do, as long as you invest in the actual blade. So I have good, decent equipment, because in the long term, I've seen these in companies and they do last. But you could set up a lot reasonably, like with basic equipment. But one thing I learned was, I talked to a builder before I went out on my own, and I said, right, do I go sole trader or do I go limited? What would you recommend? And he said, I'd go limited from day one. He said, because it doesn't take much. It's different for you, because you're more, you can do service. Like, you can get the customer here. You buy the boiler, you buy that, and I'm just charging myself. So you can try and stay if you want it below the radar. But with us, the amount of stock and stuff you need to buy, you're going to hit that threshold so quickly. And why would I start my business getting used to one way when I know in the future I'm going to have to go the other way?
What's your opinion on that? Like the threshold, like through the trade sort of thing. And we've had this discussion on here. So the threshold is what, 90 grand?
It's gone up to 90. It was about 80 when I started.
It's 90 grand. But then, like you say, with stock, etc., everything, you're over that threshold without earning a penny. Do Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So would it not be better to do it a different way? Like, because like us, we have more expensive stuff to pay out for than, say, you know, such and such a painter and decorator or a plasterer sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So would it not be better to do a threshold on profit rather than on gross turnover?
Yeah, it's definitely one way of looking at it, because that's the thing. Like you're better off in this country to run your business at a loss than you are to try and make profit, because you just get hit with a massive corporation bill, which happened last January.
Right,
and I'm literally tomorrow I'm picking up an electric car. I don't want an electric car, but I'm doing it to try and help with next year's corporation tax. But it's forcing you to do stuff that you don't. Because the year I'm at a loss, it was the year I bought the CNC, and I had about 20 grand put aside. And then I got 20 grand back from HMRC, and I had 20 grand put aside. Where the other years looked better on the books. I was making loads of money and I had nothing in the bank. So it's definitely, we are just glorified tax collectors. That's what we are.
Yeah. 2 seconds. I've really got my old man
Blather.
Your bladder's cut in.
I need as well. Do you want me to carry on?
It's all the Guinness. You can do, yeah. Sorry, Darren.
No worries. Yeah, I've got a call at 1:45.
Time now.
Yeah, so what would you say, like, a base cost? It's hard to put a price on it, isn't it? But yeah,
it's tricky because it's like people saying, "Oh, I had so and so give me this price," but I won't lie. Like I must have about, I could have up and close to 200,000 of machinery and equipment and stuff. Where, like I said just there, you don't necessarily need all that equipment to turn out the same product, but it's the investment you put into the company. So my costs would always be, well, they should be higher. Sometimes there is, like you say, there's a kind of a cap of a kind of an average kind of price, but where it varies for us is down to the doors. We try and keep the internals. We use a particular board for internals, but you'll get that at the most basic price as the most expensive price as well. It's just what's involved in the doors.
Yeah. So how would you have to say your pricing, but how does pricing work for them sort of jobs? Like, do you do it by time or amount of cabinets? Like, what's the pricing structure like?
At the early stages, you got to break it down. You got to break it down into what costs are, what your insurance is, all that. But then once you get that and you work out the size of that job, divide it by what you've worked it out to, you get an average. So it makes quoting jobs a lot easier once you know. And that's what happened when we have a particular type of hardware we use with a particular type of board. The only thing that changes in the cost is how much labour is involved in the doors. Yeah. So a slab door, just plain colour, that's the cheapest. So that's your which is very popular in London. People like the contemporary, make it look seamless, no grooves or anything, which is great. They're the kind of, but they don't do well on Instagram because they look plain. Then you got the shaker style, and then you got shaker with frets or mirrors, and then you can add metal or wallpaper, and that's where it gets more costly because of the time. So they can vary anything between. So I do it currently at the moment by meter.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do it by a meter, unless it's something that I haven't done before. But if it's a wardrobe inquiry, 6-door wardrobe, I'll base it by meter. Yeah. And I know, and then I have a set cost for LEDs for a double unit that I can add into that. But as it stands, I'm doing it by meter, and that's meter floor to ceiling based on an 8-foot high house, 8-foot high ceiling.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing a lot of people struggle with pricing. Like,
it's hard at the early stages.
Yeah, like, how do you know how much to charge? Because I think a lot of people would do it on time, didn't they? Right, it's going to take me that long. This is how much I want a day. Like, to charge by a meter, it's very hard. I think with plumbers, people might do it that way, but
they won't want to charge it by a metre of my pipe work. Half of it goes in the scrap bin because I fuck the bends up.
It's a different way of, absolutely.
It's a hard way of pricing, but once you got it right, it obviously
once you
works.
understand your figures and you start taking a handful of average jobs and breaking them down, that's a 3 metre run, that's 3 metre run. they fall within that, then you know that if you're throwing a quick quote out to a customer, you're covering yourself.
Yeah.
And what was it? Podcast I was listening to the other day. Alex was saying about the 13% rule, which was really interesting, where people add 10% onto a quote, but it's usually the 1 or 2% that kills you.
Yeah.
You could lose that 10% so easily. So you said that 13% gives you that little bit extra. So you get your price, add 13% to it, just as your profit, and then hopefully that's it. And he explained it, and it was quite an interesting way of looking at it and stuff. But
yeah, because charging per meter, that cabinet or whatever it's bespoke, so it could be really different to that next cabinet. So like,
but a lot of the time it's not crazy. And if you've got your systems in place in the workshop, you like one of the investments I did in the workshop was an edge bander, and that was just like printing money, because what would happen is you'd cut a load of material up, you'd have to come in on a Saturday, edge band it with a machine, then you'd have to trim it, radius it, so you'd have a whole day just finishing those boards to be cut again, where now you can cut edge in 50, well, once they're cut, you can edge it all in 15 minutes. So you've cut a whole day's work down, but you've invested 20, 30 grand in a machine to get to that stage. But personally, I think, table saw and an edge bander are crucial for anyone starting out, for sure. A lot of people get caught up on the CNCs. I hear so many people now talking about, I'm going to get a CNC and an edge bander and skip the table saw. But I just feel you got to have a table saw just to do the basics. And it's about knowing how to do one way and then having another option, but you need to know the basics, I think, at the early stage.
so yeah, as you said, you went university, because is there many courses out there to just do like bespoke furniture?
That's gone. That closed down in 2000 and was it 10 or 9 or something? They closed the furniture course down, because what's happening with the universities is they want the quick book. They want to be able to go. You can get a degree now from sitting home in your bedroom, just download your notes on the laptop. But with furniture, they got to maintain saws. They got to maintain the planers, the thicknessers. They have to have technicians. There's more risk assessment.
Is there any bespoke courses out there that you can?
Well, we have an apprentice at the moment that started with us in September, and he's in a very good college called Rycottwood in Oxford, and that's that's a very well known one in our industry, Rycottwood. But he goes to a lot of like the super high end. Big, their apprentices will go to like Hallstock down in Devon, and then there's like companies I've worked for. I've been fortunate to get someone, because a lot of the big boys just take them, and they're more set up for that, because you got to have all this red tape and stuff, but you don't get any money. You don't get paid. I think I get about 500 at the max, £1,000 in 2 years. That barely covers their PPE.
Yeah.
It's a joke, like literally. And the money they're on is the same money I was on when I left uni. And they're 16. Picked up by their mum, dropped home with the mum.
That's the thing is,
it's just the money doesn't reflect his age necessarily, but it's the within reason. That's the government saying you need to pay your apprentices this price.
But do you know what, right? This is the thing. I was talking to my mate yesterday about this, and he's going to mention this on a podcast sooner or later. The money that they invest into colleges is unbelievable, isn't it? The money that they invest, yeah. So, but a large percentage of the people who go into colleges don't actually go into the actual course that they've trained. They don't even go into the employment, what course they've trained in.
What they've done, yeah.
I think it was something like 40% of them don't actually.
They just go there to do something.
They do it because most people need to be in education now until they're 18. So you've got people going into doing it just because it's education, and they're taking on a course that they're never going to use. Yeah, and that's money wasted on them. Well, you an educator, because you were you were teaching that guy. So why not put the money into you teaching that guy who wants to be there to do it?
Yeah.
instead of just throwing it at the colleges and having all these super duper buildings and classrooms and all this malarkey.
Yeah.
It's totally bonkers.
No, it is.
I don't know if you'd appreciate me telling me this before he puts it on his podcast, but we was having a chat about it.
No,
it's just something that's come up that I think is relevant because they're not actually putting the money into the right people or the right places. Do you know what I mean?
No, we got to some stages where we're like, I don't want to ever have to let him go, but if it comes to a stage where it's costing us more than it's worth, even though he's a good lad, he's willing to learn, he is 16 at the end of the day, but it's as my wife says, it's how they're being taught in schools now. It's ridiculous. There's no common sense being taught. There's no, it's just do this, sit down. I want you to think. I want you to understand why you're doing this. I want you to so you don't ask the same question over and over because you're just like in one ear out the other. But it's a tricky one at the moment. But yeah, it's something to think about. But yeah, I kind of, it's not what I was expecting with having like an apprentice and stuff. Not that I expected him to be able to, like I haven't even put him on the table saw yet, and that. But I'll have to start getting him trained up.
But the thing is, you are investing your time in that apprentice. You're investing
And
time and money, time.
They're having to tell him what to do, stop him what they're doing to.
And that's a risk for you.
Yeah.
Because if he just decides to go, you know what, it's not for me, or I'm going somewhere else, I'm starting off on my own straight away as soon as I'm qualified.
You see it all the time, yeah.
It happens loads, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying apprentices.
Painting them with us, like
don't mean you have to stay with you forever, but as a bit of like a bit of like gratefulness or whatever, I think you should stick with that company for a while or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And do you know what I mean? Because you've invested time, so they, therefore, I think should invest a bit of their time in you.
100%.
I think a lot. I sort of say to apprentices, sometimes you need to move on because you almost get treated it's hard to be treated like differently because they've been there from like an apprentice. So
because some companies are like that, and I'll openly admit that some companies will look at the guy as the boy for the whole of his life, so then they will move on. But I mean, they've given him that knowledge, they've given him that training, so I think it's a little bit of give and take. And as a moral standard, I think colleges should probably like implement that and say, listen, you've got to give a bit of gratitude back to your customer, your educator, because that's what you are. Do you know what I mean? And there should be something to say that no, you can't just move on straight away.
Definitely they should.
Yeah, but they're like they're with you. What is it? Nearly 8 weeks. And they do last week. You're 1 week in college, but they're the ones getting the money from the government.
Yeah,
and they have them for 1 week.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of it. They're getting all the money, and you're doing most of the educating.
Yeah.
So why are they not investing more in you?
Absolutely. It's
madness, isn't it? One thing I did ask, I forgot to ask you, just draw it back quickly, is that all this social media, Instagram stuff. How did you find it going on the camera when you first started? Did it bother you? Because
it was awkward.
He hated it at first.
It was awkward at the beginning, absolutely. But I think one of the because the podcasts I had done in the early days were like just over a voice thing over Zoom not Zoom or something like that. But I did one thing back in what year was it? They did the Furniture Journal, which is a book that gets sent out to a lot of cabinet making shops, furniture shops and stuff like that. They asked me to go on a Q&A panel, 3 people, in front of like the biggest corporate companies like Hayfley, Hedge, Blum, Merca, so all big names. So there was about 1,000 people in a room. And then it's like Dragon's Den, and I'm on a chair with 2 other people with a microphone like this, with lights, and you can't even see the people, and I'm shouting questions at you and explaining to them like your question about how much work do you get through social media, and they're like, that's ridiculous. How can you? Because a lot of these corporate companies, there was years ago, they hadn't gone onto the social media network. They hadn't even thinking about why should we have to promote our product. We are such and such. I'm like, but I was just explaining to them that the more companies that are doing more on social media will get more covered.
Look at the government. Most votes are now coming through via social media influence,
Exactly.
across the world. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean? That's how much it's changing us.
Yeah, 100%. But that was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done. And it's a bit like going, when I did the hotel when I was 22 years old. So if I get an inquiry for 7 bedrooms, I've done 44 bedrooms. What am I worried about? Just get on with it, kind of thing. And it's once you just get on with it like and that, and treat it as is what it is. And it's a good. There's negative stuff, but there's a very positive community on social media. Like it's much like I've probably, like a lot of people, I class a lot more people that I know from social media now as good friends.
Yeah.
If I think back to who was at my wedding, I go, do I even speak to any of them? And I paid how much to feed them all and all this kind of stuff. It's weird how things change.
Yeah, it is.
But I put more trust in a person I've never met now than someone I do know.
It's funny, and we've had this conversation loads. You'll get more support from somebody online than you will your mates who were at your wedding.
Yeah.
Because they'll turn and go, what are you doing? Like, what's
I
that all
agree.
about? Do you know what I mean? It's weird how it works. And
That's it.
And the support you get, because you're all in it together. You're in this world, they're in that world. They don't understand that. These ones do.
They do understand
and
this.
that's how it basically works.
And that's why it helped a lot when my wife joined the company, is to see it from my point of view and what I had to do and deal with and stuff before I got home.
Yeah.
And that where a lot of people mightn't be that fortunate and they're getting grief at home as well, but they see me on my phone, but they don't realise I'm actually quickly doing a reel. I'm not having fun. It's literally, it is still work, but
it is, it is. It's the digital age, that's the way we're moving. I'll turn around to my mate, the same guy I was talking to you about earlier, about the plumbing, his merchants. I said, you got to get on socials now. You've got to get on social media. You've got to get your face out there, get your company out there on the socials.
You'd be surprised. I don't think there's not a lot of people that get a lot of work from it. I think you got to do it right. And what would you say what separated you from getting a lot of work from Instagram? What would you say the difference is?
I don't know. I think it comes back to the person behind the camera. You got to put your face to your product. You got to be your company, and that people aren't coming to me. I'm not saying I'm the best maker in the world, but I'm probably more well known than some of the best makers in my area of where I live. But they're not on social media. So they're still based on word of mouth and interior designers, where I don't necessarily want to go down the interior designers or the builder route. I want to deal with the customer directly, and there's a lot more pop-up housing pages now where people are growing businesses on just like doing up a house, and they want to take more control over. There's a lot more like startup interior designers that are think they know something like that, but and again, it's down with the social media things going. I follow loads of people like yourself and James, the stone dresser, and the electricians and stuff. Why? but you don't realise that me creating a community of different areas. Now you know I've worked in this area. You're well known. Before you know it, you could be doing a super high-end house and they're going, we're looking for someone. Do you know what? I know a guy. And that's come through a plumber. Not a cabinet maker, not someone else. So it's just spreading yourself, getting yourself, even doing this. Just when people put your name into something and it pops up that you've been doing this, it's more trust based on that person and that, getting yourself out there and that. But like I've got work from builders I've never met. They've recommended me to the customer after they've finished their work, going, you need to contact her. And I hate it because I get a call from a customer saying, so-and-so, Joe Soap recommended you. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. It's like people coming up to you at a show and they're like, Derek, because my name is my company. So it's easy to remember, but theirs is carpentry by something.
And you're going like this, you're going, what is this lanyard say?
What's his name? I do it with my friends at home. I forget their names from school, and I'm like going on Facebook going, "Oh, how's so and so? Oh, we broke up. Oh, sorry."
We didn't like her anyway.
But it's just about using it and to your advantage and stuff like that. But,
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to go for anything else, but I always like asking sort of what's the plans for the future. There's one question I was going to ask was, how did you find the transition from working by yourself and then employing people? Because it's quite a big step.
I'm still going through that.
Yeah.
I'm still feeling that's the thing. I'm at a stage, like I said, that I could take on more staff. We have the size of the place, but I don't have the headspace to have more lads on the floor, because I just don't have. I can only do so many cutlass, and that's why I feel like I think the next stage is to give up a bit of my trust and try and find someone to help
You got to delegate
in the office to go, right, can you do the drawings, can you do this? But I still love the main part is meeting the customer. I want to be there at the beginning and the end, where companies like Hammonds and Sharps and stuff, they'll send out a rep. You'll have a lovely conversation with someone and you never see them again, and they've forgotten half the stuff that you've discussed about adding into that job, and then the fitters will come around that have never actually set foot in the factory. We're just here to fit it. It's like, where do you want it? Kind of attitude, and they brush all the offcuts under the plinth. You open up and go, oh, someone's drill is here. But it's that whole trust kind of with the customer, more so. But,
nice. Yeah, so what's the plans then for the future? Or no plans?
He's going to make a load more cabinets, isn't he?
Yeah, a lot more furniture. No, I don't have. I'm not an entrepreneur. I have no end goal. I'm not building this company up to sell or any of that kind of stuff. As long as I can keep try not to finance too much stuff, which we're very fortunate. We own most of the stuff I have. It's just a CNC at the moment. We're paying it off, and I want to know that if shit hit the fan, I'm not. That's why I don't want to get into a town and pay 5-6 year leases on buildings and stuff. That's the scary thing, and that where the farm we're on is a 3-month rolling contract, and which is good one way, but it can always be a negative another way if they decide to kick you out, kind of thing. But there's maybe in the next 5-6 years might be back in Ireland, that kind of thing.
I think it's a good way to be. If you have too many plans, it puts a lot of pressure on yourself, and then if you don't hit it, you're like,
well, the original, like I said, was always that I could always go back to employment if I have to. When I'm at that stage, I know I've learned a lot more and that stuff, but while I don't have to, when I started with Check a Trade, I I had a completely different plan ahead, but I'm doing what I love at the moment, and I've got a good team around me and stuff like that. So, but we're just trying to, the electric has gone through the roof at the moment, so we're trying to reevaluate the costs again. Back to you saying about prices stuff, we have to revalue some of the stuff to cover with the overheads that have gone up, because it's something that we've always, even through COVID, we were able to manage with the price of material and stuff, but not at the moment now. The electric's nearly tripled.
Oh dear.
It's crazy. Yeah. All good.
all right, well, thank you,
Well,
Derek.
Derek, mate, thanks
great
very much for
conversation.
joining us. That was good. That was, you kept us quiet because you had a lot to tell us, which is great
hard
for
to
a
keep Pete
podcast.
quiet.
Yeah, it is hard to keep me quiet. So you must have been doing something right. So yeah, but really appreciate you coming down, mate.
No worries.
We look forward to seeing some more of your stuff on Instagram and seeing you at the shows.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Brilliant.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Derek.